I want to talk about going through hard times. You see, when we're going through hard times, we call that like going through adversity, something that's tough. And that would be in the Bible called a trial. And the Apostle James actually has something very interesting to say about going through trials. In James chapter 1, starting in verse 2, he writes, "My brothers and sisters, count it all joy when you encounter trials of various kinds, knowing that the testing of your faith produces endurance. Now let endurance have its full effect, so that you become fully mature and whole, lacking in nothing." This is an astounding statement by James to say that we're supposed to count it all joy when we go through trials. I don't know about you, but I don't find it particularly joyful or joyous to experience hardship, to encounter adversity, to go through something difficult. But James says there's something that we actually should view as producing joy in us. And what is that? Well, he says that when you're going through various trials, this is a time when your faith is tested. And when your faith gets tested, he says, it results in endurance. See, if we go through life and we actually never really encounter anything tough or difficult, then we don't actually grow. We don't have something to cause us to expand and rise above where we currently are. And that's what hard times do. They cause us to gain better perspective and to be able to trust in God more so we can endure more. And so then endurance causes you to become fully mature in the way you trust God, lacking in nothing. The Apostle Paul writes in 1 Corinthians chapter 10 that there's no temptation that has come upon you except what is common to everybody. But there's something else that Paul says, that God promises that when you encounter temptation, that he won't allow you to be tempted above what you can bear. And also with that temptation, Paul says that God will make a way that you can escape. Now that doesn't mean that temptation will necessarily go away, but the end of the verse says that so that you will be able to endure it. So during all temptations of life, and every trial in life entails temptation. Temptation to be afraid, temptation to doubt God, temptation to turn away and look inside yourself for the strength you need to make it through. But God promises that with every temptation, he will provide what is necessary for you to be able to endure through and escape the temptation. You know, I'm reminded of a record in the Old Testament that deals with three individuals, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, over in Babylon, after the exile from Judea, the exiles are living in Babylon during the time of Daniel. And there's this time when King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, he decides to set up this huge statue. And he wants everybody in the kingdom, when they hear the music playing, to bow down and worship him in the statue. However, as God-fearers and worshipers of the true God, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they decide that this is not what they're to do. They're not to worship any other god. And so when they get found out by not bowing down and worshiping the golden statue that Nebuchadnezzar set up, they get cast into this fiery furnace. Now, I want to read this record here in Daniel chapter 3, and it begins in verse 14. It says, "Nebuchadnezzar said to them," this is to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you refuse to serve my gods or to worship the gold statue I have set up? I will give you one more chance to bow down and worship the statue I have made when you hear the sound of the musical instruments. But if you refuse, you will be thrown immediately into the blazing furnace. And then what God will be able to rescue you from my power?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied, O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God whom we serve is able to save us. He will rescue us from your power, your majesty. But even if he doesn't, we want to make it clear to you, your majesty, that we will never serve your gods or worship the gold statue that you have set up. I love this record because it shows Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and their faith in God in the midst of these perilous circumstances. And then when Nebuchadnezzar asks them what God is going to be able to rescue from his power, they say, our God can. Our God will rescue us. But they say, you know what? Even if he doesn't, we're not going to do what you say. We're not going to worship your idol. You see, this is an even if you doesn't type of faith that they're depicting. And even if he doesn't type of faith is one that doesn't rely upon whether God conforms to my desires. Whether I trust God or not is not dependent upon whether he does what I think he should. What my trust in God is based on is his unchanging character, his goodness, his love, his mercy, his faithfulness, and especially his promises. For God promises that one day he will wipe away every tear from our eyes. And God does miracles every day. He does miracles today and tomorrow. But that shouldn't change the way that we trust him and worship him if he doesn't perform a miracle. Nothing changes if God doesn't act the way we want him to. I believe in God even if he doesn't prevent me from getting sick, even if he doesn't stop my boss from firing me, even if he doesn't keep my business from going under, even if he doesn't rescue me from pain and suffering. There are so many even ifs that we can think of, but that's not the point. The point is that our faith in God should not rest on our doubt in his power and ability. God is God, and he is strong and able to save. Think about this. What if God prevents me from getting sick? What if God helps me keep my job? What if God prospers my business? What if he rescues me and helps me not be in pain and suffering any longer? Maybe you're facing a crisis of belief, wondering, where is God and why hasn't he stepped into my circumstances? Maybe your faith is wavering in the midst of the situation you're facing, wondering, where is God during this time of trouble that I'm going through? Where is God during this trial that I'm facing? Maybe you're suffering and in need of God's help and waiting for him to act. Well, let me tell you that God is acting and God is at work. Even if he doesn't do what you think he should do, even if he doesn't do what you think you want him to do, God does not obey our desires. But that shouldn't change the way we trust him. We need to trust God because he is God. Yahweh is our God, and he never changes. And we know that God is good, and God has our best interests in mind, and he takes everything that happens, and he works for our good. I want to leave you with one last verse from Hebrews chapter 10, verse 23. It says, "And let us hold unwaveringly to the hope that we confess, for the one who made the promise is trustworthy." See, we hold on to the hope that we have in God, not because he matches what we think he should be doing, but because of who he is. He is trustworthy. And because of that, we can be strong in the Lord, and we can have our faith be tested in times of trouble and during trials, and know that God is going to help us have the endurance to make it through. This is what I wanted to share with you guys to help you during this time of difficulty facing this trial that we are in life. May God bless you.
Thank you so much for watching, liking, and commenting on this video. And please hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of our future content. And if you'd like to consider donating to help with making videos like this, please go to truthiortradition.com/donate. God bless you.